I was working as a tour guide in Norway, taking a group out on a clear winter night to see the northern lights. The sky was alive with color, waves of green dancing overhead. An American woman tapped me on the arm and asked, completely serious, "So, what time do you usually shut this down?" I don't want to miss the finale. I explained that the aurora isn't scheduled and doesn't come with an off switch. She sighed and said, "That's kind of unprofessional." While working at a hotel front desk in Rome, I got an angry call from a guest complaining that his air conditioning was broken because it was blowing hot air. When I went to his room, I saw he had set the thermostat to 32 degrees. I explained that the temperature was in Celsius, not Fahrenheit. He frowned and said, "Well, that's stupid. Why wouldn't you use real degrees like America?" I overheard two American students on a train between Belgium and the Netherlands staring at a map. One of them suddenly panicked and whispered, "Wait, are we crossing into another country right now?" His friend nodded. He froze and said, "I didn't bring my passport. Do they have checkpoints like state borders here?" They spent the rest of the ride nervously watching out the window. At a cafe in Paris, a woman confidently ordered an extra-large vanilla latte with skim milk, foam, and caramel drizzle. The barista politely told her they served one standard coffee. She rolled her eyes and said, "How is this even a cafe if you don't have Starbucks options?" Then she stormed out. While working at a medieval castle in England, an American tourist asked where the elevators were. I explained that the building was nearly 1,000 years old. He scoffed and said, "That's illegal back home. Someone should sue this place." A gondolier friend of mine in Venice once told me an American couple asked whether the canal water was ocean water. When he said yes, they asked if dolphins ever swim by and whether it was safe from sharks. He told them the biggest danger was pigeons. At a pub in Dublin, an American loudly ordered a drink using a name associated with a tragic event in Irish history. The entire bar went silent. The bartender calmly told him he could apologize and order properly or leave immediately. The tourist left, muttering about people being too sensitive. In southern Spain, a family complained that dinner was taking too long. The waiter explained the relaxed pace of evening meals. The father slammed his hand on the table and said, "This is why nothing works in this country." At a gift shop near an ancient stone monument in England, an American asked why it was built so far from downtown and suggested relocating it closer to the city for better tourism. A flight attendant friend told me an American passenger once asked whether people in Japan spoke Japanese everywhere or only in major cities. He said he was hoping to find places where they just speak American. At a historic site in Greece, a tourist complained that the ruins were too broken and suggested they rebuild them with modern materials and maybe add a roof to keep the rain out. I worked in a cheese shop in Switzerland where a woman sampled a traditional cheese and complained it didn't taste like the sliced cheese she bought at Walmart. She asked if ours was a knockoff. In a chocolate shop in Belgium, a man tasted dark chocolate and said it was bad because it wasn't sweet enough. He told the chocolatier Americans preferred real chocolate and that they should adjust the recipe. After visiting the Anne Frank house, an American teenager commented that the situation could have been avoided with better security cameras and a smart doorbell. At a vineyard in France, a couple asked for ice cubes to put into a carefully aged red wine. When I hesitated, they said, "That's how we drink wine at home. Cold is better." In Russia, a tourist stared at a famous cathedral and asked if Disney built it. He wondered what time the fireworks started. At the Great Wall of China, a man asked which country the wall was built to keep out, North or South Korea. On a beach in Southeast Asia, a couple tried to pay a local vendor with a large US bill and got annoyed when the vendor couldn't make change. They complained that their money was worth more anyway. At a bar in Australia, an American celebrated the lower drinking age, then proudly showed ID, proving he was still underage. In a market in North Africa, an American haggled by offering real dollars and seemed confused when asked which currency he meant. Standing in front of an ancient statue in Egypt, a tourist asked who built it so he could complain about the damage. On a bus in the Scottish countryside, a woman marveled at sheep grazing freely and wondered how locals trained them not to cross the road. At a hotel in Germany, a guest complained the TV was broken because the news was in German. He was amazed when I changed the channel to English. At an archaeological site, a tourist asked how historians knew so much if everyone died and whether someone survived to explain it all. In Vienna, an American demanded to know where the kangaroos were and insisted the city was falsely advertised. At a currency exchange in London, someone asked to trade dollars for euros and was confused to learn the UK used pounds. At the Louvre, a tourist dismissed the Mona Lisa as small and unimpressive, saying he'd seen better art in big box stores. At the Vatican, someone asked if the guards were actors, like at theme parks, and posed for selfies. In a rural English pub, an American couple looked distressed when told they could seat themselves. On safari, a tourist asked whether zebra stripes were painted on. At a traditional inn in Japan, a woman complained that her bed was missing, refusing to sleep on a futon. At a temple in Kyoto, a tourist refused to remove his shoes, claiming it violated his personal rights and that his sneakers were expensive. At the Korean DMZ, someone asked if there was a gift shop on the other side and whether the bus could cross briefly. At Machu Picchu, a woman asked where the real city was and complained it looked unfinished. In an Irish pub, a tourist panicked over a peat fire, thinking the building was filling with smoke. At the Colosseum, a teenager live-streamed and complained about the lack of Wi-Fi and modern screens. In Bangkok, a woman insisted her food was contaminated because she could sense peanuts nearby and demanded it be remade in a peanut-free environment. I was working as